I can't pronounce what it's called, but it's got all the yucky stuff in it. It's free this, it's no emoji or whatever it is. It's none of this, it's none of that, it's free of this, it's free of that. 7 months. His original family called him Chief because his dad is in the service employed, and they had to give him up because they discovered his wife had stage 4 cancer, and they don't think she's going to make it. They have 3 small kids. So he went to a German Shepherd rescue, and they put him on his preppy food. She didn't like the name Chief, so she called him Phoenix. He's turned his nose up at both names, and I woke up the morning after I got him. I said, "What do you think about Fisher? You like this?" I said, "Okay, that's going to be your new name." He said, "I like Fisher." So that's what he's called.
Hey, thanks for coming out. I'm Joe Johnston. I'm the fishing manager here at Eastern Outfitters. And tonight we're going to have Lee Parsons. Lee's been guiding for how many years now?
24 full-time.
24 full-time years right here in Topsail and Wrightsville Beach. Lee's a guy, when you go to Mirrolure, when you meet with those guys, they know Lee Parsons. They call Lee Parsons and ask what he thinks about stuff. So tonight we're going to focus on Mirrolures for this first seminar. We'll probably do another soft plastics or something like that later, but I think Lee's an acknowledged expert on Mirrolures, so that's what we're going to focus on tonight. So, Lee Parsons.
Hey, Lee.
Thanks everybody for coming out. I appreciate it. I'm going to start with this. The only stupid question is the one you decide you don't ask. So if you don't ask it, you're stupid. I think that's what I'm trying to say anyway. Or at least you'll go, man, I should have had a V8 and asked him this question. Let's get out of here. But anyway, this is how I do it. It's not how everybody does it. I teach Mirrolure school. And, Fisher, sit. No. No. They're talking to each other. Tails are wagging. Down. Down. Stay. On ground. But anyway, I don't know it all. I know what I know, and I know what works for me, and I'm going to try and convey some of that to you guys. In Virginia, trout are called tide runners, and the reason they call them tide runners is because they change locations as the current moves. It's important to remember, fish will move up and down a couple of 100 yards sometimes. The school of fish is not left, they've just changed positions. So if you're fishing a point with an oyster rock on it, the tide drops a foot, the current is not set up like it used to be. So you have to adjust your swing of where you're casting or your boat position to find the fish again. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, does everybody know what I mean when I say you fish the swing? The swing is where the current is running from right to left, and you don't ever have to reel. You cast straight out, maybe a hair up current, and you sit there and you let your Mirrolure sink whatever depth it is, and you sit there and tap. And it swings more and you tap a couple more times. A trout is going to hit it when it's sitting still. It is not going to hit it while it's moving. A bluefish will hit it while it's moving. A little whiting, do y'all know what a whiting is? It's a little butterfish or whatever you want to call them. They're about yay big right now. They'll hit it while it's moving. But a trout is lazy. It's going to hit it when it's sitting still. A lot of times what will happen is you think you've had a hit, and what's really going on is that trout has come up and it's slapped the Mirrolure with its tail. It's tried to stun the bait so that the bait doesn't move and it can turn around slow and grab the bait. If you try and set the hook when you feel that, most of the time you're going to miss that fish with a Mirrolure. If you've got the guts and the courage to sit there and not move it, most of the time that fish is going to come back and wallow on that thing, and you're not going to have a hook in it, you're going to have multiple hooks in it. So resist the urge to set the hook when you're mirror lure fishing, especially if you're fishing the swing. Because what they're trying to do is slow that bait down even more before they eat it. Now they do get aggressive. And when they get aggressive, the bite's a lot of fun because they're going to hit it and hang on to it the first time. And usually they're going to have a mouth full of treble hooks, which is good and bad. You can kill a lot of small fish when they get aggressive like that. So you might want to bend the barbs. Believe it or not, bending the barbs, you're not going to lose many fish. It's going to work out real good for you, and it's going to be easier to get it out most of the time. All right, the other thing that I want to stress is that trout are one of the most color-sensitive fish I've ever found. Today they may eat an emerald green back with gold sides. Tomorrow they may want a red back with silver sides. You never know, that same group of fish you fished the day before may want a totally different color tomorrow, even though the conditions are almost identical. There's no difference in weather, there's no difference in barometric pressure or any of that. They just suddenly decide they don't like that color today. Nah, don't want that one, I want a red one instead of a green one. So you have to be ready to adjust. I'm fortunate in my boat where I can carry 12 rods. And usually they've got different colors, different lures, different weights, and I can sit there with a group of people and work an area, and I can have 3 or 4 different baits out at one time. If they don't like that, I can pick up a different rod and say, here, try this, try this, try this. And all of a sudden you're going to key in on something. This year has been phenomenal for me, and my buddy and I, to teach mirror lure school, we discovered that that has been the bait of choice for me all year long. This is a clear blue back, silver sides, and chartreuse belly. That's what this is. There's some up here behind me somewhere. Last year, the Catch 2000 was what they wanted. And this is an MR20 and an 18 color and broken glass. And when you see this reflective glass, that's what's going on. Now I started playing with that last year because they were eating what we call the old Christmas tree grubs. Anybody familiar with that? Old man came out with it years and years ago in a curly tail. And that red head and the white body, it went away in a heartbeat. And that Christmas tree grub, which is blue and red and green and all different colors, that prismatic color started working. And ever since then, when they came out with broken glass, that seemed to me what they wanted. And for 3 or 4 years, that was the ticket right there. All right, everybody knows what 17 is, right? And then they make a heavy dime, which is the same thing, it only sinks at the same rate as your 52M. Your 52M, your old standard 52M, is the fastest sinker out there. The next one is a TT model. By the way, TT stands for tiny trout, for what it's worth. It's the one with little spots on it. You ever caught a trout and ate another trout and had it in its belly? I pulled a 1.5 pound trout out of a trout's belly one time. Think how big that trout was. But, you know, it's little subtle things that make mirror lure fishing what it is, and that's what's cool. How I came about mirror lure school is I used to sit there at Texas Tackle and watch guys walk up to the mirror lure counter and stare at it like a deer in the headlights. And I used to spend a lot of time when I lived down there at Texas Tackle. Now this is my hangout up here. But I've watched these guys, and I go up and ask them, you know, could I help you? And I don't know where to start. Well, Captain Mike Hoffman, Corona Days, and I do a mirror lure school. And we try and teach you the basics in 2 days and a night of class at mirror lure school. And it's 2 days on the water, full days on the water, fishing, and 1 night of class. And we beat into you how to work mirror lures. I teach braid because that's what I like to fish now. When I discovered that braid was the way to go and I could catch trout on braid, I went straight to it. Haven't turned my head back since then to everything. Mike is still old school. He will teach you how to use mono and soft tip rods. I'm an old lazy guy, man. The less work I have to do, the better I like it. I want a stiff tip rod. I want a rod with a great drag on it. I want 20-pound braid, and if I'm throwing 52s, I'm going to put 20-pound fluorocarbon, about yay much of it on there. If I'm fishing 17s, I'm going to drop down 12-pound test fluorocarbon. That's what I'm going to fish it on. But I got tired of taking 6-pound tests and popping 52s off with it every 15 or 20 casts. It got expensive over the years. But that's what I do. Mike's still old school in that. So you get a day with him fishing old school methods. You get a day with me fishing my methods up here. I can't hardly tell any difference other than Mike's having trouble breathing at the end of the day from working so hard, and I'm still back there. And I feel more bites than he does. I'm convinced of it. No. No questions so far? It's the biggest group I've had. It's so quiet, I can't understand
I got
it.
a question. Are these primarily sinking lures?
They're all different
they're
types.
all diving?
There's suspended, there's floating, there's sinking.
Okay.
That's what all these are back here.
Okay.
That's what makes people look at them like a deer in headlights. Where do I start?
Right.
This is what school is all about. This is kind of what you're going to learn a little bit of tonight, but it's not intense. I got too much ground to cover.
Gotcha.
In your sinking, you've got your 52s, you got your TTs, you got your 17s, you got your heavies. I think these are the 18s, right? The heavies. And I don't use many heavies because I don't fish them in current. Mirror Lure just got rid of one of the best lures they ever had because you guys would never buy them. It's called a 32. They don't make this anymore. So I go around to all these shows and I buy every one I can get my hands on because one day I'm not going to be able to get them anymore. I probably catch 250, 300 trout on this lure every year, maybe more. Not necessarily this color, but that size. It's the size that I'm looking for. That's the small finger mullet this time of year that's just starting to show up. The neat thing about this is you can run it off the top hook just like a 52. It sinks at the same rate as a 52. Or you can run it off the nose hook, which is what I do, and swim it like I do the Catch 2000. The Catch 2000 is great in 4 foot of water or less, 5 foot of water or less. Fireman in the house.
Sorry.
It's all right. A good dirty watercolor for around here that I really, really, really like, because I fish a lot of 5 foot or less. I used to fish out of Beaufort, Morehead City a lot. I've been lucky to fish with some of the best trout fishermen in this state and some of the best trout fishermen coming out of Texas. Texas has some beautiful trout fishing. They like coming up here because we have some beautiful trout fishing too. But I used to fish South River a lot, and the old fellas that I used to talk to in South River at lunchtime always would tell me, he said, Lee, look for that 5 foot or less. He said up here that was key, down here it's key too. That 5 foot or less is, as long as they got that 5 foot to roll off into in the evenings, where they can get deep, kind of get away from some shallow water prey and stuff, trout get real happy. They like a nice sunny spot, flat spot to get up on in the daytime. They like to roll off in that deeper water during the evenings and get right on that edge where it rolls off right there. This is a 19 color in a Catch 2000. It's got the old Mudman green back. It's got a red or yellow belly, and it's got the gold sides. And it's an absolutely deadly color for this stained tannic water that we have. This is my go-to bait in the fall, when that's stained water. Some years it goes right on through, other years it kind of fades off as the water clears up. And this year it was this puppy. See, I fish a lot of Catch 2000s. Very few people fish them. You're losing a valuable resource in your trout fishing if you don't start playing with the Catch 2000s, especially if you're in that 5 quarter or less. Kings Creek, Turkey Creek, the flats off of Goose Bay, all those are great places for those lures that I'm just talking about. There's oyster rocks and everything else out there. If I want something that'll go a little deeper, I used to use the L29 in the mirror lure. This is a lip bait. That's what the L stands for, is lip. Now they make an L30, which is a little bit smaller. This is another bait that I really, really, really like. And whenever I can find them at the shows, I buy them, because I know I won't see them forever and ever. But the neat thing about this bait is if you're fishing with you and maybe your buddy, and you're fishing a lot of current, I use it down in Ballhead all the time, in that current down there. I'll position the boat and sit there and throw that out behind the boat and loosen the drag to where you can just pull the line off of it straight off the reel. Now, when you do that, when the rod's in the rod holder and you go to pull that line, it's a lot tighter. So that's why I put the drag so loose, so that when they hit it, they can pull on it. Just throw it out as far back as you can, let out a little bit more line, stick it in the rod holder and forget about it. Go fish in the bank that you're on, you know, that you're fishing towards. That's how I fish it. I like to fish off the bank towards the bank. Mike likes to fish on the bank towards the channel. It's about 6 to 1.5 dozen to you. That's how my grandfather got me started. And anyway, we go out there and fish, and all of a sudden you hear Most of the time, the biggest trout of the day is either going to come off this bait or this bait, out there minding its own business, sitting in the current doing this. Diving down, popping back up, diving down, popping back up. Now what happens when you anchor out in the middle is trout look for seams. You guys know what a seam is? A seam is where you've got a calm water transition and a fast water transition, just like you do in a trout stream. Anybody trout stream fishermen in here? You know what a seam is then, right? Okay. Trout work on one side of the seam or the other. Remember I said they're lazy. They're going to sit usually in the calm water. They're going to do this. Look back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Wait for bait to come by. And when they spot one come by, they come up, eat it, and go back down again. But when you anchor your boat out in the current, your boat forms a seam. Remember what I said about trout moving? The trout will find that seam. They will go and they look for it. They feel it. They have lateral lines. That's what they do most of the time, is they feel what's going on. And they feel that seam and they go, maybe there's bait out here. And they go out there. What have you got back there? You got that little L29 sitting there. He goes, ooh, there it is. And he comes up and eats it. And it's usually the big, lazy trout that come up and eat. The one that's fat and sassy and got on a lot of weight for the winter, and it goes up there and eats it. Now, it's not saying a dink won't get up there and eat it either. That's usually what happens. So it's a good trick, especially if you're a lazy fisherman. I'm a mirror lure junkie. I'm a lazy fisherman. And, it just works. It's another trick in the book. It's another trick for when those guys say, wow, look at the size of that gator you just caught on Facebook. know, how'd you catch him? You just smile. Just caught him with a lure. You know, kind of like, where'd you catch him? Corner of the mouth. You know,
In the water.
in the water. Stay. Thank you. Down. Down. Come on. Thank you. Puppy in training. Sorry. Any questions so far? Go ahead.
Procure? Do you use Procure on the lures at all?
And I'll tell you why. I've tried it, and I've tried it, and I've tried it. And there's something about the Procure after it's been on there, fish don't like it. That I can tell. I mean, I get rejection after rejection on a mirror lure, and I'll tie a fresh mirror lure on there, and all of a sudden I'll start getting hit again. That speaks volumes for me. Now, I love Procure. On a gold spoon, you can't keep me in Procure off of. And by the way, trout will hit gold spoons. Trout will love to hit spinner baits, just for what it's worth. It's another arsenal.
Question is, on these specific lures, do you tie them directly on the leader?
No,
or
I
you-
tie them
what-
with a loop knot.
you don't use a swivel or anything like that?
Keep your swivels to yourself.
Gotcha. All right.
These guys are very weight sensitive.
Okay.
Changing hooks, if you don't do it right, will make the action totally different. Now, there are some bulk hooks out there that I use for king mackerel fishing that are actually very similar to these, but I've got a gram scale, and you wonder why I got a gram scale, so I can weigh hooks. That's why I got a gram scale. And I weigh my hooks. I weigh my little splits rings and stuff. I want to know how to match the weights of these as close as possible. The hooks I use, I actually have to drop down one size. In other words, if this is a 4, I'm going to drop down to a 6. If it's a 6, I'm going to drop down to an 8. It's very, very, very important to keep the weight as close to it as it is. What's the matter, Auntie? Don't worry about that dog.
Thank you for that.
Your retrieval method, I'm a little confused. In current, how do you do that? And
If
with
it's a current, I
striker?
do everything I can not to reel. I try and let the current do the motion. So when I tap it, it looks wounded. And I'm not talking about tapping it. That's pulling it. I'm talking about pop, 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 pop. That kind of thing. If you pull it, it's not natural. It doesn't look like a wounded bait fish. If you ever take a mullet or a menhaden, throw him on the side of the boat and pop him in the head one time good. Watch him hop overboard and see how he reacts. That's what you want to mimic. You want to mimic something that's really hurting. If you can mimic that, you can catch a lot of fish with it. That's part of what Mirror Lure School's about, is learning how to properly mimic a hurt injured bait fish.
Is there a particular loop knot that you like above another?
There is, and there's not going to be time to show it to you tonight, I don't believe. Usually, I've been given an hour, and I'm guessing we've already run a little bit towards. Okay,
What's the name of it?
it's my grandfather's loop knot. I'll have to show it to you,
Very good.
and I'll show it to you and not kill you, but I'll show it to you. Okay. Somebody have a question over here? Did I see a hand up a second ago?
Yes, sir. The one that you were talking about that's good for like the Turkey Creek areas.
Come up here so I can hear you. I'm sorry.
The lure that you were talking about that's good for like Turkey Creek and the darker stained waters. Is there a correlation with the color and the way it reflects, or
Absolutely.
what makes it?
It's just like
Lee, can you repeat the question so people can hear what he's
I'm
asking?
sorry.
Can you repeat the question so people can hear back here?
Oh, yeah, he said he wants to know about color correlation and the color of the water. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That and in between the sun, whether it's an overcast, bright day.
All right, I'll answer the overcast and bright day. On a bright day, I want gold sides. How many people out here used to troll or do troll for a Spanish mackerel? How many people use a gold spoon on a bright day? How many use a silver spoon on a cloudy day? You're doing it right. That's not saying the other way won't work. It's just typically on a bright day, a gold-sided lure is not going to reflect as hard as a silver-sided lure. It's going to look more natural on a cloudy day, on a bright day. On a cloudy day, I'd rather have a silver-sided lure. The prime example of that is, if I can get this out, this is a number 50. It's called Louisiana Bayou. It's got what I call the Volkswagen greenback. It's got a little yellow belly on it, and it's got silver, gold sides. That's the 50. The 49 is the exact same thing, but it's got silver sides. The silver sides tend to work better on a cloudy day. With a black top